Lowe's knows how to get you ready for holiday hosting with up to 35% off select home decor. And get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, haul away, basic installation, parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan when you spend $2,500 or more on select LG major appliances. Valid through 10/1. Member offer excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Installed by independent contractors. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Welcome to the Women's Rugby Treehouse.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Rugby Treehouse. I am Julia. I've got with me, as always, my co-hosts Sean and Hattie. Hi, guys.
Hiya.
All right, so as you can tell, this week we are trying something a little bit new. We are very excited to have our first guests, so we're going to have a little bit of a different format this time. First, we're going to have a conversation with our sister podcast host, Liza B, our sister podcast, A Bit of an Animal, the South Africa podcast. We're super glad to have you, especially in the wake of what we now know is a historic run for the women's box. And since we have so much to discuss for it, we're going to dive right in. We have all been discussing the box progress ourselves, among ourselves offline, but we would really like to hear, especially on the back of, like we said, this historic run, just to open it up, how are you feeling as a fan right now?
I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy. I can't really express it in words. The big reason for me, that I think we already have so much to celebrate is because of how the team has grown in such a short time. And so even though this weekend against France was a bit of a difficult watch, and the quarterfinals are definitely going to be very difficult, but just seeing the growth in a very short time with actually not so much investment. There has been investment, but it just shows how if you invest even a little bit in women's rugby, the growth is exponential and you get so much back. And I'm so happy that more people are seeing this team and celebrating the players and knowing their names. It's just awesome.
Fantastic. Speaking of knowing their names, actually leading me right into the next question, curious. Obviously, we know a bunch of the big names. Who are the standouts for you? And that can mean either they're having box office type results or maybe somebody who's a little bit understated. Who are you looking at this tournament?
So she's announced herself on the world stage. Everyone knows her name, Azizehele. I personally love her.
Big favorite.
Yeah, I was going to say pod favorite too.
We have stickers of her already in the group chat.
She's just awesome. She plays for my local province, Bwelandomis, and she's a standout there. And what you see at the World Cup is what she brings to our local league. And I just love her story. She's a wonderful person. Yeah, she's like my spirit animal. The other standouts for me is by Andre Dolf.
Absolutely.
Very
much it's felt under the radar. And
I think it's a good sorry. It's like an understated because she's playing at 15. She's in the background. She's like kind of doing this. She's like a little shadow. Like she's in the back.
She always has a quiet game until it becomes very loud.
Yeah,
which
she's
is
been
really
so fun to
15.
watch in person. So fun.
Yeah, so that's a very accurate description of her. She actually usually plays 10 at the Bulls Daisies.
Makes sense.
So
I can see that.
What's it like to be a fan of a team that has several good 10s?
Yeah.
What's it like?
10s that are able to play other positions so you can play them all at once.
There's so much versatility there.
That was what I was going to ask, because my follow-up question to Dolph was, in your opinion, is Nadine Roos Antoine Dupont from South Africa? We say yes.
I think she might be. I know Swayze has said that she actually studies clips of him, and you can see
that does not surprise.
Yeah,
you'd think she'd say Faf, running in the long line of talented, tiny, and blondes that get under your skin. Perfect.
Exactly.
She's awesome. She
I
is so
love her.
awesome. Yeah,
God.
same. I'm obsessed with Scrum Half, so. Although she could be anything.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest parts of the World Cup so far has been the growing support, especially from fans of the men's box, especially in the larger conversations we've been having in the rugby world about varying levels of enthusiasm from crossover fans. What is your take on that? How are you seeing it? And definitely, how is it feeling in country while, it's so far away, but still, quite accessible, more accessible than they've ever been? What are you seeing on the ground?
Yeah, so definitely I've had some interactions recently where contrasted to, let's say, a year ago when I was getting geared up for WXV2, driving to Cape Town, and everyone was like, "Why are you going to Cape Town?" I was like, "WXV2," and they're like, "What's that?" So
How was that actually? We've never gotten to speak to somebody who got to go to the Cape Town events. How was that actually? Did you feel that it was a good lead up for the women box to what we're seeing now?
yeah, I was at the Japan game at the Cape Town Stadium last year, and it was amazing because of the crowd. I didn't get a chance to go in 2023, but even on TV, you could see there was like 10 people there.
That was that was some, and some people had complaints about it, but I mean, we on this chat know
It was bad planning and various
it was
other
bad plan.
things.
It was bad planning, but it's also, just the awareness of that we have a women's rugby team. It wasn't there, I think.
Mm.
And so it was much better last year, and it was great going to, Cape Town Stadium is beautiful, and there was a nice crowd, not huge, but nice, and people were vibing, and there was some Guicho singers, and it was a really great experience. And definitely you could see the change with Sways, you know, having a
Absolutely.
plan towards
Mm.
the World Cup. And you could see some of the kind of systems and stuff that they put in place, and how the players from game to game were learning and changing and getting things better. And that game against Japan was awesome. I also love the Japanese team, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was
We love them
definitely a
too.
highlight.
I was gonna say everybody, and what I love is that every team that's talked about playing them after has always been like it's really like it's different because Japan, of course, like South Africa, honestly, plays a different brand of rugby than we're used to seeing. But across the board, everybody said it's a great experience. So I'm really glad that South Africa got to have that. I think all of these are great building blocks. And speaking of which, that leads me right into my next question, which is what you guys have coming up. The Bach women will be facing the Black Ferns for only the second time in their history in this quarterfinal. The only other time was 15 years ago at the 2010 World Cup, which I learned today. Thank you both, Hattie and Liza. I didn't know that it was only two times. So that's a cool fun fact, but it's the Black Ferns. So your honest take, what are you thinking that we're going to see this weekend?
Oh, it's going to be a very, very tough game. Like, there's no, yeah, there's no
Have
denying
you been
it.
able to catch any of the Black Ferns performances or like even highlights or anything leading up to it?
Yeah, so the New Zealand channel on YouTube does quite a good
Mhm.
job
Yeah,
of
it's
putting
great.
together some nice highlights. Unfortunately, not a lot of it was even on our pay TV. So I'm really reliant on the internet to find stuff. But yeah, so I did watch them, and of course, also in a lead up to the Black Ferns XV who came to South
Yeah,
Africa,
Mm.
just to get to know the players a little bit more, because that's also the other thing. We're really isolated in a way in South Africa. So
yes.
even, with the Women's Six Nations and stuff like that, there are all of these amazing players, and we don't get coverage. So yeah.
I don't want to take it too much off topic, but I have to ask only because it's something that we've kind of discussed in a roundabout way on other episodes and also across other pods in our wider pod family. But only since you mentioned it, and it's something that's been kicking around in our minds. And this actually isn't on our question sheet. Sorry, team. But one thing that I've been thinking about is there have been conversations, nothing official or anything, but if, other than WXV, if South Africa could join a regional competition, considering that technically it's isolated. I mean, we have Rugby Africa, the Africa Cup is great, but there is not currently any kind of anybody who would put up a battle. There's Kenya at a distant far away from South Africa. If they were to join a regional one, Pac 4, it would be kind of silly, but it kind of fits. I mean, we'd have to change it. It wouldn't be Pacific 4 anymore, but there's that one versus the Six Nations. Obviously, that's a pipe dream. They don't want anybody else, but it's the one nearby and we don't have URC. Where do you think they might fit? And this is all just a thought experiment. Nobody is suggesting anything change, but curious what you think if you had the magic wand.
If I had the magic wand, I would go with Pack 4. And I've actually thought of this quite a bit. I've thought about.
I was thinking. I think the right addition would be to add Japan and add South Africa.
Yeah. And it'd be like, do you like Ocean 6?
Yeah, Ocean 6.
That would be amazing.
First of all, we're gonna get canceled. Not by rugby fans. We're gonna get canceled by a major motion picture house.
I'm gonna try and trademark it because it's a trademark under sport.
It
George
is.
Clooney's going to be knocking on the door.
I was just gonna say, very litigious. Very litigious.
His wife's a lawyer.
Exactly.
And a very good one.
I was gonna say you are violating somebody's human rights to money.
Let me watch South Africa more.
Let me watch South Africa more. That's the main thrust of the conversation. I'm so glad you said that. So actually, that also leads me into some of my wrapping up questions. But we touched on it a little bit. It has been really great, this crossover that you're managing to get. But we know that South Africa is a rugby mad nation, and we know that the Women Boks are a team that are fun to cheer for. So if you could have a message out to people who are maybe on the fence or are fans only of the men's box and are kind of more hesitant to come over, what would be your pitch to come give the Women Boks a try?
Well,
what is their selling point?
Yeah, what is the selling point? They're awesome. It's South African rugby. They have the exact same DNA as the men's team. We are a nation of a certain type, and you will see yourself reflected. You will see your sister, your mother, your daughter, your cousin. You will see them reflected in this team. And they have worked so hard. They have come through so many things. If you find the stories of the men's Springboks in any way relatable, or if it touches your heart in any way, the women's team is like even better, I would say. So that's number one. The rugby is awesome. The players are awesome. And number two, I think as a nation, we sometimes a little bit snobby about our rugby. Some people kind of, only watch Springbok rugby or URC. They don't watch Curry Cup. They're not interested in, anything that's not traditionally what they're used to. And I would say just give it a try.
I have seen South Africa fans argue about. I've seen Springboks fans argue about schoolboy rugby. Yeah. That is how. Like I don't know another country where I am seeing people argue over high schoolers, but they will.
Yeah, but at the same time, they'll watch schoolboy rugby, but they won't watch Curry Cup.
They won't watch the Women's Boks. Or Curry Cup.
No, or Curry Cup or the Women's Boks. It's just like, just try it. You'll love it. Yes. I promise.
My favorite, I've been really, really lucky to go to 2 Springbok games in this World Cup. And my favorite story, I've already told it on this pod, it was the first South Africa game, and I was surrounded by South Africa fans. And there was a guy behind me who, when the bomb squad came on, they were like, they've got a bomb squad. Like the South African fans, I cannot explain how incredible they've been. And I actually told this story earlier on David's pod, but I had the first tickets I bought to the last game, the France game, were terrible. They were like automatically allocated and they were like the worst, like in the corner up the top on like the end.
Uh,
And I was like, I don't want to sit there, right? So I ended up buying tickets that were like much, much closer and like it was a nicer seat. And I put the other ones up for sale and they were not selling. They were up for months. I was like, they're not going to sell. They're not going to sell. They're only like 10 quid each. Literally like an hour after that first game, they sold. And I was like,
yeah.
and it literally like the whole crowd was South Africa fans. And like a lot of them didn't just turn up for the South Africa game, they came for the game before. Like, I think the transformation, at least for box fans in the UK, of which there are a lot, has definitely changed over the last couple of
Really?
weeks. It's been, don't know if you've heard.
Just a few.
Um, yeah, it's been incredible and it's been so fun. Um,
Mm. It's funny how when a team starts to get that success and that momentum, yeah,
and
it's really exciting to watch, and it's
and
happening now with the women box.
I am not a big fan of like the women's game is for families. Like I just think that's kind of nonsense. Like it's for people that like sport.
Anything is for
Yeah.
families, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but the amount of like middle-aged South African men I have seen taking their daughters to Springbok women's games literally almost has me in tears. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
But
It's
it's
extremely
interesting
cute.
that sorry.
Oh,
It's interesting that you say that because I went to the first Black Ferns XV game in Cape Town in Athlone Stadium, which is smaller.
Mm.
So, but it was exactly that. And it was actually one of the best rugby games I've been at in my whole life, just because the
makes me so
atmosphere was so
happy.
much different and because there were kids running around and it's just so much more diverse and so much more fun and so much more South African.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved it.
I mean, that's exactly the sort of thing, and I hate to keep name checking, but it was until my new friend, the most prominent South African I knew was Elma. But that is something that she harps on a lot. First of all, it is
Mm.
the Rainbow Nation. Obviously, come support these girls. And they are super diverse. The team is super diverse. I know that in the past there have been all sorts of both nice and not so nice conversations about the makeup of the Springboks team. The women's Springboks team puts it to bed, which I love. But especially having read that there was a Rugby Pass article, I've referenced it before on the pod, but there's a Rugby Pass article, and I think it was Yaki Cilliers who was talking about it, about going to a braai with her uncle and him laughing about the idea of her being a national team player. To hear now that there are white South African men, let's put it out there, white South African men bringing their daughters and saying, you can do this. It sounds like it's a tone shift. And if they need to be doing box office stuff like this to do it, okay, but come out and see more. There's going to be more of this.
Box office. Thank you. I'm here all night.
Folks, we are coining so much today. we are
That was terrible.
Going to
I
get
groaned
sued.
internally.
We're not getting canceled. We are getting sued by movie houses. That's what we're doing this week. On that amazing note, that kind of wraps up my questions, but now we wanted to open the floor. Is there a message that you would put out, especially to women's fans, maybe who are becoming, we're all a little bit new to the box. What are we in for? What are we in for the rest of this tournament? And what are we in for in the next few years with the women's box?
Yeah, so I would say for the World Cup, look, in my opinion, like I've said, we've already reached all our goals. Like we have reached and exceeded our goals. In terms of my personal goals that I wanted the team to get to, but also, listening to a lot of interviews and reading stuff about them, I think I'm pretty aligned with them. So, first of all, transitioning to an 80-minute team. For a very long time, we could play a half a game, we could play 60 minutes. I think we've really gotten some consistency. And then, yeah, just also playing out wide in defense and in attack, we've stepped up there. And then, yeah, winning Brazil was the first one, and we passed with flying colors, and Italy was really the bonus, right? So,
what a game.
Such a good game.
Good.
I love that.
I still get
How was that?
goosebumps.
We don't have to go back, but how was that live? How long did it take for your heart rate to become normal again?
Well, you should ask how long did it take me to stop crying. I was
of course.
so happy. And yeah, I mean, the last what was it, minute or 3 minutes was crazy. I was screaming at my TV. My cats had to go and hide under the bed. But it was amazing. It was really such a big game. And now playing the Black Ferns, our greatest rival, is just, when before the France game, when there was a bit of chatter about should we rather try to top the log and try and play Ireland, even then I felt no, we should go for the Black Ferns just because of what it means to South Africans and South African rugby and our nations and our very special relationship with each other. So I'm backing the Boks all the way. I think we might do something amazing. If we don't, I'm very happy in a way that if we do lose, it's going to be to the Black Ferns. If we don't go to the final, I'm backing the Black Ferns to win the whole thing.
I love to hear it. And actually, thank you for that. Thank you for that that platform, because if you are a men's box fan and you are watching this and you are considering maybe dipping into it, first of all, this one is going to be one that's going to get your heart going. But second of all, on the same day, both the men's and the women's box and ferns and blacks, not gonna say blacks, black is the
All ferns.
And the all ferns and the all ferns are both playing same day.
The male black ferns, you mean?
Yeah.
The male black ferns, the male red roses, the male black ferns, the male women box.
The men box.
The men box. Yes. We're making men box real too. This podcast innovates. That is also happening this weekend. We are super excited. And with that, Liza, thank you so much for joining us. As I said, Liza is with Bit of an Animal Pod, which is on our Global Gain Line Network. Please go give that a look. We will be watching, especially to get more insight as we go forward. Of course, WXV won't be happening this year, but it will again next year. But with that, thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to chatting to you soon, regardless. And of course, we are hoping for the best for the box.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much. Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to have another guest here. Now we're going to hear from the France point of view. We've got our friend Karuk. Karuk, thank you so much for joining us, especially coming after training. Thank you for your time. How's everything in France?
Everything's good. Everything's good.
Fantastic.
Rugby-wise, I mean, in the world, France, it's
Not the government collapsing. We won't talk about
I was going to
that.
say,
I wouldn't want to mention it, but
they keep telling us we're not allowed to talk about the government collapse. So we said, okay.
I was fine not mentioning it. So
we talked about the American government last week and we got censored. So let's not.
We
go
got
there.
censored.
did you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we did. Yeah.
All right,
Apparently,
I'm not going to say a word.
No politics, guys.
No. So instead, we are coming on the back of a pretty successful run for France. We're very excited coming up on these quarterfinals. So first, we just wanted to get your general lay of the land. How are you feeling about this team, both coming into this World Cup and also, of course, since France is a much more established team, the process of reaching this World Cup, both good and bad that we know of. What's your lay of the land so far?
Okay, so if we think in terms of the World Cup in isolation, I think it's been pretty good. I know it's a bad word to think that a rugby team could be good, but actually we're not terrible. So
Can't relate as a Wales fan.
didn't want to mention it, so there we go.
Thanks, Hattie. Thanks.
We scored 26 tries in 3 games.
Yeah.
And the only team that scored more tries than us is England, which is not surprising, but you wouldn't think that France coming into this World Cup would have such a potent attack, and we do. We do have a quality of a position that maybe isn't as hard as Canada, as New Zealand, as hard as England, but you can only play what's in front of you. And coming into this game against South Africa, you could have almost predicted that this French team would come out on top and really try and establish dominance. But they're saying it and then doing it. And if you see the first half, especially the first 20 minutes, and even the first 5 minutes, I don't think we touched the ball more than twice, and yet we're completely on top because our defense is dominant, our line speed is dominant, our scrum is dominant, and that always sets a tone for the rest of the game. And you could see that we were almost drowning the South African team, which is one of the most physical team in the whole tournament, and we managed to get on top of them. So that was really a positive side. And then we just continued to like steamroll over them and then just running over them, managing to get all the offloads. I mean, it's a staple of the French team, but even then, against a much more physical team than usual, we managed to create momentum with our style of play. So really positive game, especially in the first half. And then if you want to be a bit nitpicky, kind of
we
slowed
always
down
we
and we
always talk
lost.
about we always talk about France being a team of two halves. So
It is true.
yeah.
It is true. I
Yeah.
mean, in the first half was not perfect, but it was for the
Was
standards
strong.
that we started to set, very good. Very good for the standards we're trying to set across this World Cup. It was probably the best half that we produced
Yeah.
and one that we can actually build off on for the quarterfinals. So it was a good game, a lot of positive outcomes, and a lot of good analysis coming into the quarterfinal against Ireland. So really
That
excited.
actually leads me that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is actually I completely agree. We know about the two halves thing. I think in South Africa it was definitely handled better than it had been, which is good for momentum, especially as you said, coming into Ireland, which still has a pretty good outlook, honestly, for France. I personally back France for it. But
I do too.
speaking of those good performances, are there any players? Of course, we know some of the big names. The stars of the French team are also the stars of the game. Do you have any players that you have pegged as kind of under the radar, or perhaps just aren't getting as much chatter as you would expect that are maybe
They
really
are.
knocking it out?
They are. They are. There are a lot actually, but
Love to
first
hear
of
it.
all, first one that I'll probably mention is Champon, Léa Champon, the back row, who has a pretty interesting
That's a
backstory
great one.
because coming to this World Cup, she didn't play as much. She was on the bench for the first 4 games and then only came into the starting lineup against England because of concussion for Kemba. And she quietly had one of the best games I've ever seen from a back rower against England in years. And then she played again against England in the warm-up game, and then she played all 3 games in the group stage. She has been a mainstay of this French team, and it's hard to assess a back rower in terms of
Yeah.
performance when he or she doesn't do like crazy offloads or 50-meter runs, but she's an exceptional lead player. I think she cleans up balls so well. Ever in every scenario when a pass is thrown maybe a bit too low, a bit too high, or maybe you're panicking and then there's not as many organization as you'd like, just picks up the ball and just rams to 1, 2, 3 defenders. She's great at that. Really good link player between the forwards and the backs. And also like great work rate. She can be in all parts of the pitch all the time, can do full 80. Really, really good, quietly under the radar player. I think if we were to have a World Cup heist, I think she'll be crucial to our performance. So that's one player I want to mention first. So if I want to highlight the back, I mean, the backs are pretty across the board, very, very good. I mean, Gabriel Vanier is exceptional. Pauline Bonsensus is
I was
exceptional.
just gonna say one of the best scrum halves in the world.
You already knew
It's the
that.
best.
I
A little bit.
I was at the match the other
So
day and I saw her
Mhm.
and I was literally just like, it's Pauline
Yeah,
Bourdon-Santos.
yeah, but
She's in the flesh.
She's
the
incredible.
thing is, you don't really
Look at
the
her
thing
hair.
with world-class players, you don't really actually assess them until you see them in the flesh.
Exactly.
Yes.
And with PBS, I just said PBS. Okay. Uh, she's really she's the best in the world at accelerating play, generating momentum. Like if I want to throw out a stat because it's probably wrong, but I think from the 10-ish pens that we got against South Africa, maybe 3 or 4 were quick taps by PBS, and
Mhm.
every single one resulted in 10, 15, 20-meter game. Just exceptional at just generating momentum and just never letting play stay dead, just constantly rolling and rolling and rolling. And she's so important. She just generates so much momentum that she's crucial. And you saw the difference between her playing in the French team that gives us so much confidence and her replacement, Alexandra Chambon, who is a very good player, much like I must cite, because she's really in the nitty gritty, in the really technical sides of what a scrum half should be. She's really good, especially a box kicking, which I actually think she's better at than PBS.
Wow.
I do think that, but in the area that matters most, especially for us French people, which is actually generating momentum, PBS is second to none, and she's the best in the world at that. So, yeah, if we
Since we're on her, we have to ask though, because this pod has, and I know you know, but we have a running theory that part of the slowdown in a second half, more often than not, is at the 60-65 minute mark when she
comes
off.
off, yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have
timed
an idea
it
about that.
this
I do have
weekend.
an
Wait.
idea.
Sorry. I timed it this weekend because she scored, or there was a score, and it was at 61 minutes. And I turned to my mum and I was like, she's going to come off now. And then immediately they called her off and she was fuming.
Was that
She
the
was
try that got
so
disallowed?
angry.
So that's what I'm wondering
Oh.
is what is with the coming off at I know that there are some teams where the scrum half does come off, but there are also teams where the scrum half doesn't come off. It doesn't seem like there's a longevity problem, or a stamina problem rather. Do you have any ideas of why she comes off? We don't, so we're just kind of asking everybody we talk to, why does she come off?
Probably convention, because
Yeah.
it's hard for
That's
scrum
just
half
how
to
you
not to
go.
play, to not to come off, especially when there's a replacement scrum half on the bench. And yeah, if Hattie's right, because NLD scored in the 61st minute, I think, just picked up the ball and just ran through, and then she came off, and yeah, it took almost 10 minutes for the game to restart for the French. But I do have an idea about that, because another team that has an exceptional number 9 and also plays for Toulouse is Antoine Dupont with France men. And the thing is, he doesn't come off.
That was why, kind of, because we know that their styles are so similar, and we also know that they are we know that they train similarly. Why doesn't she get
I think we can actually copy the men's game in that regard, because when the replacements come off, Maxime Lecoux comes off for France men, Antoine Dupont actually switches to 10.
Yes, which PBS can also do.
But
I learned
Exactly.
this because she does it at Toulouse.
That actually PBS is a better 10 than Dupont is. And she's
Hattie,
got far more experience
this
in
is
it.
Hattie's hill. This is Hattie's hill.
Because she
makes
used to
better
play.
I mean,
She
I
used
can
to
see
play
that.
10 when
No.
Mrs. Bourdon Sansus, the other world class
Was-
9 in that
Yeah, yeah,
relationship,
the
was
one-
playing 9.
At some
all the
point,
best
they were
scrum
an
halves.
upper pairing. Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you have to rejig the whole back line and actually switch the starting 10 maybe to 15 or maybe to the bench. And what worries me is that we actually had an opportunity to see that in the last 20 minutes against South Africa, and especially against Brazil, because I mean, it was
because there was a lot of opportunity. Yeah,
it was the best game to try out. Maybe it's a secret plan that we'll see maybe in the semifinals or in the quarterfinals and final. I don't know.
I wonder though if so. I think back to the England game against France in the Six Nations when France nearly beat England, and we at the time thought if they'd kept Pauline on,
truly,
they might have won. So
I mean, she's
do you think that it's a case of they have to keep her on now? Say France are the semi-finals, should they keep her on for the full 80?
Would they? Is this a
Oh,
David
would they?
Ortiz
Yeah.
thing? Is this a like this is what we do in rugby, so this is what we do?
No.
Or is there room for it?
I
I'm
think it's
so
definitely an
intrigued.
option that the French coaches thought about. And the thing is, I mean, there's an argument for, there's also an argument against, because we nearly beat England and PBS wasn't on for the last 20, so it's not impossible to win without her. But I would argue we'd have a better shot with her and other chaos creators in the squad, especially in the last 20 minutes when the games are actually decided at this level of play. So say we want to keep PBS on in the pitch past the 60th minute, we just let Chambon come on at 9. So PBS switches at 10. And now there's a question, where does the starting 10 go? Does she go to 15? Right. Because Karuk can play 15. I don't know about Arbez.
But would you ever want Bourgeois off? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want her off. And this is assuming that she starts.
The thing is, that's another one of my
that's an assumption.
Hot takes. But
wait. Ooh, we want this hot take.
I actually would prefer if Boulard started instead of Bourgeois for the quarterfinal.
That's fantastic. That's totally
That's
valid.
a hot take.
I mean, that is a hot take.
It's a hot take. It's a hot take. But other than Bourgeois kicking, Boulard is a very complete player.
Yeah, I think it's the kicking that takes her over.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question that
but
if
like
not
you said,
for kicking, Boulard would start in every game.
Exactly.
She improved leaps and bounds, especially since the last World Cup. Where I thought
I was just going to say she also experienced.
She was good, but she was really raw in terms of rugby IQ, and now you can actually see that all those years have actually paid off in dividends. Like she's really really attuned to the play, to how we want to play now. And Bourgeois is also a very good distributor, very good play detector. But in terms of range threat and offload capability, Boulard is really, really above her. And like, she's tall, she's rangy in terms of high ball. If maybe, let's say, for quarterfinal, Dan O'Brien wants to like kick the shit out of us with Gary Owens for the whole game.
I didn't even think about that. I didn't. I'm surprised Hattie didn't think of this because she's such an O'Brien fan.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, that's
I think France are going to win. I really don't.
I mean,
Ireland have got too many injuries.
I think we should cover that possibility because, like, let's talk about Ireland for a bit because I was not as pleased as I thought I'd be watching them against. New Zealand. I know it's New Zealand, but they weren't really good.
No, everybody kind of felt the same way. It felt really flat. There are a lot of questions about Ireland in this cup.
And what is like, why? I know if UEFA isn't properly fit, but wouldn't you like at least try to get her at least 10-15 minutes, even if the game is dead, just to get some game timing to her, because she hasn't played like in months now.
Yeah.
And she's going to play in the quarterfinal.
We talk about this a lot
earlier.
The physical side
you nailed exactly something.
In all packs.
You nailed exactly something Hattie has.
Yeah, so I said this earlier on David's pod, but because I'm just recording all the pods today, but I said the only way I can see Ireland having a shot at winning is if they capitalise on PBS coming off at 60-65 minutes, and
But you can't like.
And you have Aoife Wafer come on for like the last 10-15. But that's only because they do the same. It's only because they do the same thing to both teams in terms of like lifting the team.
Yeah.
And like they lift the team to another level that they don't have without them, even though they don't do the same role.
When was the last time Aoife Wafer even played?
This is it. She's
Like I would actually
throw her against France feels mean.
There's fitness and there's match fitness, isn't there? We saw it with Alcal last year. Like she just wasn't match fit.
When Aoife Wafer came back for very, very briefly after injury during the Celtic Challenge, she was not hot.
No,
I think she takes a while to warm up.
I agree.
Okay,
but you're right. No, you bring a good question.
Good to know.
So we got kind of the analysis portion out of the way. Now there is, of course, a lot of excitement around France on this team, and around this team, which is great, and it's exactly what we want. We recently got reports that France is having the highest viewing numbers of women's rugby that they've had over this cup.
Yeah.
So we are very curious, especially because we were just chatting before that you're just coming out of practice with just regular rugby joes. What are you feeling, especially on the ground in France? Are you feeling like there is an increase in fans? Maybe they're crossover fans from the men's, especially off the back of a really successful World Cup for them. How is it feeling these days?
Successful World Cup for men's is not the word I'd use. I mean, it was popular.
Yeah, well,
it was popular.
I should have said holding the World Cup was successful.
Okay. Yeah. No. It was a good event. It was a good
No,
event.
you're right. You're right. Oh God, I'm gonna get cancelled by French fans.
Nah.
It's like the second scariest thing after getting cancelled by South African fans.
Exactly, and I'm gonna do both.
Good luck with that. I mean, there's actually.
Are you hearing more fans of men's talking about women?
I mean,
are any?
The thing is, they always were like a small
fantastic.
portion of rugby fans that followed both the men and the women's, because we have. I mean, I'm sure you know this, but France has a long history in women's rugby, and if not for the form that we had a couple of years before the World Cup, I do think we would be in a much higher position than we are now.
Absolutely.
And this World Cup is really popular, but I don't think a lot of people really paid attention to the pool games, even though the numbers are, as you say, very good. It for us, and I mean for every big rugby nation, I think the occasion always gathers the most amount of attention. So it's a question of whether we can actually reach what we aim to do, which are the semifinals, and then what we can actually do in the semifinal. Because every year, I mean, without fail, we always hype the Six Nation final against England, and it's always, depending on the year, either a small letdown because we lost by one last year. We were lost by two the 2 years before in 2023, if I'm correct, or like the game in Bordeaux in 2024, full house, so that's good. But we lost by 20.
Do you feel like the level of enthusiasm, or well, okay, no, obviously the level would depend, but do you feel like the volume of support is totally results dependent, that if they have a few bad games that they're just going to lose viewers? Because it hasn't seemed like French fans are that fickle.
No, they aren't.
Hopefully.
They always will, especially for the French national team. There'll always be fans.
Exactly.
Just bar a catastrophic incident, I don't think there'll ever be like less than 1 million people watching women's rugby for the Six Nations. There'll always be people. We'll always watch rugby.
But that's huge.
That is huge. But we could be,
of course,
we could be having so much more, especially if the domestic game were to follow up. Which actually, I mean, if we were to touch on that, there's been like years of indecisiveness. Like, do we play 2 pools of 8? Do we play pool of 14? Do we play pool of 12? We've actually settled on a pool of 10 for the first time in years. We actually feel like the top championship is like actually working, and there's actually been a couple of games that have been shown on TV.
That was actually where I was going to go with that. Was do you feel that it perhaps goes hand in hand with, and actually exactly like you said, there's been so much waffling about whether Elite would be on TV, wouldn't be on TV, would it be on free to air, would it be pay? Yeah.
For now, only the final is on free to air. So there's been select games that have been shown in conjunction with the men's. So for instance, if there's last year there was a game between Lyon and Toulouse in the men's, and what happened then after the men's game was the women's game. So it was shown on the same channel, so you didn't have to switch, you didn't have to leave the stadium if you were there, so you could have like full 4 hours of rugby if you were willing to stay to watch the girls.
Yeah.
So there's actually opportunities for that. There's been probably like less than 10 games in that particular instance last season. I think they're aiming to double that for next season. So the global goal will be to have a dedicated channel to show the whole championship, whole games for the whole duration of the season, and have the final 3 there, which is already the case. So I don't think it'll happen in the next World Cup cycle because I don't think all the teams are ready in terms of TV equipment. First of all, I don't think all the
right.
So
well,
not all
that's
teams are
part of
playing in
what
stadiums.
That's part of what I was curious about, though, because this happens to be one of the leagues where there is a pretty wide distance between some teams and others, both in terms of like funding and yes, okay, in terms of results, they're always going to be
even
right.
geographically. I mean, it's totally different makeup
exactly
compared to the men's because first of all, there's a team in the north which doesn't happen really in elite men's rugby. There's also less teams in the south, teams in Brittany. So there was Van last year who came down. There was for the women's there was Rennes who were a mainstay for many years who just came down to Elite 2, which is a tragedy by the way. But what can you do? But so the makeup is totally different. So you can't actually do a one-to-one between the men's and the women's because they already have their own history and they're building their own championship and then their own like storied rivalries between teams. You can see there are parallels. Obviously, Toulouse is there for both the men's and the women's, but although it's two different clubs, it's not for the men's is Union Bordeaux-Bègles, and for the women's is Stade Bordelais. So it's two different entities, but it's the same city. So obviously both are supported by the same people. But Toulouse has also a secondary club in its like 10 minutes away from the city center called Blagnac. So that's another thing. But if you want to compare, there'll be, I think, if the World Cup actually like does what it's supposed to do and actually explodes the number of people involved in women's rugby, maybe in a few years we'll see maybe the same development between the men and the women's, where all the bigger team are concentrated in the big city centers, and maybe the countryside teams are sadly a bit thrown outside. It happens, but it's what happened in men's rugby, and you can argue with the fact that now men's rugby in France is the best it's ever been. So,
I mean, it happened in the Women's League in England, like where what is now the PWR originally was completely different teams, and some of them literally like didn't even have men's teams, and then they've been kind of converted now, and it's almost exactly the same. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens in France. One question I did have for you, just to quickly touch on the league again, is I know that in France, is it Sunday night rugby is like the really big thing? Or you have like that game, it came out recently where it was like €1 million to have the like whatever time slot
men's
was.
rugby is Sunday night is massive.
Yeah. Do you think if, say, the whatever channel it is and the league kind of said, if they said, okay, we're going to try and emulate the men's and we're going to have a Saturday night game or a Friday night game, or even like a pre-show to the men, so like I don't know, like 6 p.m. on a Sunday. Do you think that
pre-show would work?
Do you think that would help?
Because pre-show already happened, not on Sundays, but pre-show already happened.
Are they successful when they do the double headers? Are they successful?
Double headers work. They do. So I think they'll be.
We don't always get them to work. Honestly,
no. I was surprised. I was really surprised to see that many people staying or actually coming earlier to watch women's rugby, because it doesn't happen often, but they do work. So it's now it's always, as always, it's just advertisement, promoting the game, seeing women in men's rugby on an equal footing, maybe like showcasing different stories, different storylines, different players, etc., etc. But if marketed properly, double headers, they absolutely work, and I think they'll be a mainstay for years to come. And they'll be one of the main launch pads for women's rugby in France for the years to come. I'm convinced it will work.
So, that is fantastic. That was what I was hoping you would say, and actually,
I'm pretty confident.
No, I know that I completely agree. And it does go. I actually recently had to give this argument for rugby in America because we also did double headers for the USA tour.
Yeah.
And a lot of people questioned it because in places like New Zealand, it doesn't work so well. It worked great here. And I know it works great in France. And actually it like doesn't fail half the time in the UK, just the UK nitpicks. I love you guys, but it nitpicks. But everything can't be a rollicking success every time. I agree. I think double headers would be great.
In the UK, it does come down to marketing. You're right. Like you have games like the Harlequins, big games, like they work well.
That are really successful.
Yeah, I think the Bristol one that they did recently, that worked well. But like the Celtic Challenge URC ones haven't really worked because they've not really been advertised. If you're selling the ticket as you get both games, then it's better. But I think when you try and shoehorn a women's game into a ticket that's already been sold, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and also I would add that the URC as a competition in itself is already not the most popular, and it's already hard to sell. And then you're trying to add Celtic Challenge.
100% right. Yeah, 100% right. Yeah. Interesting. They're doing a double header with the Bristol are playing in the Principality Stadium.
Yeah,
I think they're doing. I think Harlequins are playing Bristol Bears.
Yeah,
women.
Yep.
Which is basically the entire Welsh women's team.
So I'm like, oh, maybe I should go.
Yeah, because it might actually be fun. But actually,
it will be fun.
It would be fun. Yeah. I'll probably go.
Well, it does lead me into something that we have always been curious about. We always the one time always ask that we've had a guest before. To wrap a bow on the conversation, we've been talking a bit about crossover as it is, and we've been talking about where the possibilities are. If you had either a magic wand or you had an amazing platform where you could talk to the French public, where you could talk to the wider men's fans of men's rugby and men who are fans of women's rugby, what would be your sales pitch for watching France in both this semifinal or this quarterfinal that we know is going to go probably pretty well, and for following this French women's team overall? What are the draws? Why this French team?
I mean, it's probably twofold. So first, I'd say you only have to see them play to see that they actually know the stuff about rugby. I mean, every rugby fan worth their salt in France can see that this team can play. This team has skill. This team has power. This team has poise, and this team is very, very tightly knit. You can see they're the really tightly knit group, and that's obviously amazing to see and to witness. And the second part, which actually is probably the most important one, in my opinion. Men's rugby in France is not in the best health, not in terms of not sporting wise, but let's say scandal wise. Let's say scandal.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm thinking of my Welsh
a lot of
friends
drunks,
here, and I'm like, yeah,
a lot of drunks, a lot of drugs, a lot of sexual scandals, blah 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 blah. And
a lot of learning about extradition treaties. I'm busy. I can't.
No, I mean it's never been the quiet part that the French people in men's rugby, some of them, let's say it's a small portion. I can't put everyone in the same bag because most people in French rugby are wonderful people. Let me just say that. But like when you see what happened in Argentina last year, and you're trying to sell to people that the French national team is the pinnacle of the sport and they are role models, you're actually trying to sell that. No, like be honest with yourselves. But actually, with the women, you can actually see that they really like they're more than decent people. They're actually models to try and emulate, to look up to. So, I mean, our captain studying medicine, for Christ's sake. Like,
no, it's so cool. I'm so excited because there is already one captain doctor, and we're gonna have another captain doctor.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very exciting.
So yeah, I mean, Rachel Martin, eat your heart out, but it's always great to see people that actually embody rugby values. I know it's a swear word in British rugby, but for us, it actually means to be a decent person and push yourself as much as possible in every field that you take part in. And the women embody that. Sure, they don't always win. Most of the time, they lose against England, which actually sucks. And we don't always see the result that we want to see. But no matter the result, no matter the performance, at the core of this team that we are seeing people that are really trying to push themselves to be the best and doing this in the right way. And that's not something we can say of every team in the men's game, because there's been too much scandals for us to actually be sure of what happens behind the scenes. But I'll say this, but I'm just a fan, so I don't have all the information. I don't have all the ins and outs of everything that happens in men's rugby. Neither do you have all the ins and outs of women's rugby. But the image is, in my opinion, much better. And if we were to harness that, I think it could have really helped the image of rugby in France in general. But in conjunction with that, I think the relation between the women and the men at the national level are excellent, and they should stay like this. And more collaboration between the men's and the women's could actually benefit everybody. And maybe, fingers crossed, maybe seeing both the men and the women lift up titles in the weeks and the months to come.
Absolutely. That you put it perfectly. Thank you. That was a perfect sum up. That was what we were going to say. That was all we had for you. We are so excited to see what is to come for France. The outlook is really good. I would really love to see them in the final. I'm not sure what we're going to see, but we are excited to watch. We're excited to hear more from you and other French fans. Anybody who has any thoughts on our conversation, please drop them in the comments. We will try to respond to them. Otherwise, we are excited to see how it goes. We're really hoping we see them lift some hardware. Do you have any other hot takes before we go? Oh, Hattie has a hot take.
No,
Okay.
no, I have a special thing.
Oh. Oh. There we go.
Wait.
He's loving it.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know.
We've only just discovered this, and it's
We did.
Oh my God. We can't do aging podcasters again who discovered emotes. Yeah, it's in if you go in the bottom thing,
I can
it's
do
in
hearts.
React. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Oh, you've only got the one
That's
part though.
Yeah.
That's exactly how we feel. Thank you so much for your time, especially. Oh yeah.
Do you have a hot take?
Oh, do you have a hot?
If we are to get in the semi-final against England, I may have an idea about how to beat them. But we're not qualified yet.
You don't want to give them ideas.
No,
I was going to say, then don't do that.
I do have ideas. And I think they do too.
Then we're going to put a pin in it, because if that becomes the fact, we are going to come to you for the ideas.
Fair enough. Okay.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Really
Thank you so much for chatting. Fantastic insight. We would love to chat again soon, especially as we see how France progresses.
Yes.
But until then, thank you, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Women's Rugby Treehouse. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us wherever you see us on social. Join us again for more of the same next week, and until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.